Welcome back, everybody, to the ND and Free podcast, a podcast and media platform that explores how NDers can live their truth and feel free in their lives. We hear from inspiring coaches, therapists, experts, and fellow NDers from all over the world. I'm Owen Morgan, a wellbeing coach, speaker, and writer. I have over 10 years' experience in the wellbeing sector, and I've interviewed over 500 people across 4 podcasts. I've received my ADHD diagnosis at 41, and it changed my life. My mission is to explore how the human spirit and understanding our whole self can bring us a life full of possibilities. So we have another returning guest. This is going to get more common now, guys. So for all your favorite guests, you're going to get to hear them all over again. So back again with Neurodivergent Thrive Guide episode. And we have returning psychotherapist and counsellor Kate Hough. Kate runs her professional online therapy service, Dots Counselling and Wellbeing. Welcome back, Kate. It's really lovely to have you back. There's been big changes in your life since we last spoke, but I'm so grateful for you taking the time to speak to me today. How are we doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me back. I really enjoyed our last conversation, so I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, me too. Last episode did really well. That's episode 111, everyone. So go back. I'll put a link in the show notes for you, which was how psychotherapy can help with neurodivergence. Really lovely because it was near the beginning-ish of this journey, so I got to learn lots. And since then, I've interviewed so many people, so I can't wait to see if I've learned anything since the last time. So yeah, go and check that out, guys. It's in the show notes. So just remind us again, give us some context for people hearing you for the very first time. What you're up to with your therapy services and how you're helping the ND community.
So, yes, for anyone who doesn't know, I am a counsellor and psychotherapist, and I run my own therapy practice, as Owen said, Dots Counselling and Wellbeing. And I've gone on to do additional qualifications in ADHD and autism so that I can further support the vastly growing neurodiverse community whilst also finding out I was neurodiverse myself. So it was kind of a dual approach of ran my own therapy practice, started seeing neurodiverse clients, realized that could relate to them on more than just a professional level. And now I really utilize both my personal experience of being neurodiverse and my professional experience to put those together to support people.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's always a person or a group of people that shine the light, guide us down the right path to
Yeah.
discovering our truth as well. I mean, so many versions of that on the show
Yeah.
already, which I love. Just give us a little recap if you can. I'm sure there's a lot just for people listening again, but when you were diagnosed, what age, and how did it all feel? So just give us a little taste of that.
So I think this is quite common of people, but I've always knew I experienced life faster than other people. So I talked faster or was more chatty but maybe often sort of forgot things, or I was very emotional about things and very sensitive. So I've always felt different to that extent, but didn't really understand why. And then I eventually got my ADHD diagnosis. So I got diagnosed with combined ADHD at 27. So it came as a relief, but not a shock. More so because I'd spoken with so many neurodiverse people by that point in my therapy practice that I was like, if I don't get diagnosed with ADHD, I will be very, very, very shocked. But yeah, it was life changing for me, because I finally felt like I wasn't different. I just misunderstood myself. And maybe others in my life had also misunderstood me. And for me, I know it's not the same for everybody, but I really liked the label of having ADHD because it really helped my brain hold on to something of this is how my brain works. And this is what makes me special. And this is what makes my brain work in this wonderful way. And with the things that are more difficult with ADHD, I now have something I can work with and something I can really use to help gain support for those things. So I found it absolutely life changing. But yeah, it took me until 27 to get my diagnosis, but definitely worth it.
Yeah, I mean we all respond to it in different ways, but I think whatever way it is, that's the right way, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
whatever. If it helps you in any shape or form, even if you don't want to identify with it, we'll talk about this today anyway.
Yeah.
I just think always honor your truth. For so
Yeah.
long we've not been able to. We've had to
Yes,
mask
yeah,
and just plow through, force ourselves in situations because we want to fit in. And this is our chance to claim some of that back, some of our power, I
yes.
guess. And did it help you with the way you approach your client work? Did you notice a big shift in how you do it, or were you just doing what you always did? It's just you had truth within yourself.
I think probably I did notice a difference, but not as dramatic as it wasn't night and day because I've always had ADHD. I just then knew about it and had it confirmed. But from me being, it was quite early into me qualifying that I started to notice that it was, I think, as I experienced more people. So I was only 18 when I started out doing counseling and psychotherapy. So I was a baby myself and I hadn't really experienced vast amounts of people. So I think as I started to, well, when I qualified and then started to speak to more and more people, speaking to at the very early stages when I wasn't doing one-to-one work, I was speaking to hundreds and hundreds of people a week. And the more I interacted with the world and individuals in the world, the more I connected much more with certain individuals than others and started to really use that in my practice and find my sort of niche, I guess, in my practice, which was being very person-centered, yes, which is my primary modality, but really looking at finding out how people work and how people like being communicated with and how to get the best out of people so that they can find their own truth. And then I think I then used my ADHD skills I didn't know were ADHD to really pick up on minute details and really hyper focus on certain things and think outside the box and be able to support people in that way. So when I then got diagnosed, it just more gave me a lot more confidence to do that and to own my diagnosis and self-disclose at times where appropriate to help others know that I didn't just understand what they were saying on a professional level. Because I find that with ADHD, unless you have it, it can be incredibly difficult to truly grasp how somebody experiences the world because it is very different. So I think sometimes it can be helpful. I'll have on my website that I'm neurodiverse. I will very openly speak about it as a professional because I think it's helpful for individuals when they're looking for a therapist to know that they won't have to explain what ADHD is to me. They won't have to explain how they experience certain things. I will just know and understand. And that has definitely shaped my practice.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess most people, neurodivergent people, would pick somebody with who's informed by that. And that
Mm,
would make complete logical sense, I'm sure.
yeah.
But I like a little bit what you're saying there is it's like how you would approach a session, how you would hold the space,
Mm,
how you'd speak to them. You can ask them, do you need to hear things in a certain way?
yeah.
Or, some people may struggle, especially on the more autistic side, being able to picture and imagine and understand metaphors. It'd be less literal. Or, this is all just very vague, but all of those things are all part of it as well. It's like to help them, we need to really understand how
It's
they need to receive.
Yes, we
And
need to talk their language. It's like if you only spoke Spanish and I was speaking to you, I don't know, in French, then you'd be like, I don't understand what you're saying. And it's the same. We are talking a different language. If you are using words and metaphors and terminology that somebody just doesn't, their brain just isn't wired that way, it isn't grasped to understand, it can make them feel stupid. It can really be really invalidating to their feelings. So I find it really important to spend the first couple of sessions and the initial consultation that I offer really trying to understand how that person works and how to work with them, not just using a blanket approach to everybody.
yeah, I like that. I think the more flexible you can be, the better therapist, coach, whatever you want to call it, the better you're going to be at it, really. It's just to be really able to. I think that's why being a divergent is quite helpful because you can you're not going to be endlessly saying, yeah, I get that too, but you basically, you're seeing it and you know how to respond. You're not shutting them down for anything that comes up for them, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Beautiful stuff. Amazing. Right, let's jump into our topic today, guys. So we're looking at processing diagnosis. We have touched on this lots, but not in greater detail, really. It's like processing our diagnosis journey and exploring self-diagnosis as well. So that being said, that it's people will respond to diagnosis in a different way, but so much of the work, I think, is come to terms with it all, understanding what that means, who you are as a person, as well as, do you have tools for me that I can use? How can I help this impulsivity or this executive function or whatever it may be that they're trying to work on? So it's got to be kind of both, hasn't it? So when you're holding a space for your clients, depending on what you're exploring, how does that play out? So is it 50-50? Give me tools, I'm trying to come to terms with it, or do you think they have to figure the terms thing out first before they even jump into tackling
I
presentation?
think I think a lot of people come with, it depends if, I think it personally depends if they are, if they know that if they have a diagnosis and they are confirmed, I know I have ADHD or autism, or if they're in the bracket of I suspect and I'm sort of working towards self-identifying and self-diagnosing in this area, but I want to make sure that I've got that right or I'm on the right lines. Or some people have absolutely no idea they may be neurodiverse. They think they're just struggling with motivation, or they're messy, or they're not concentrating enough, or they're not working hard enough, things like that. And it's at that point that it really depends how they're coming as to what approach I will take and hold that space. Because for the people that have no idea they could be neurodiverse, and the sort of bells are ringing in my head that all of these, the stars are aligning here that would fall into the category of being neurodiverse, it's really trying to gently bring that up in conversation. And that does take some time to quite drip, because you don't want to just go, I think you have ADHD. I actually, have you ever just considered the fact that you may be autistic, or whatever that may be? So it's being very gentle in your approach as to how you would help somebody potentially come to realize that they may be neurodiverse, and this could be an explanation as to what they're experiencing. For people who either have a diagnosis or are self-diagnosing, they have often spent their entire life masking or being invalidated for how they are and how they experience the world. For example, oh yeah, you're just being too sensitive, or you're just forgetful, and you just need to work harder at that. So the space I will really work hard at trying to create is one where we validate what they are experiencing in the terms of the neurodiversity. So you experience this because you have ADHD. And that means that this is not your fault. You are not doing this on purpose. You are not trying to hurt people or upset people in what you are doing. So we start there in the sort of self-compassion, and working to, like, a lot of the time people come with self-hate, a lot of the inner critic. So really working through that at first, to then be able to go, now what do I do about it? So let's stop beating yourself up for what you're doing first. And then let's look at what strategies we can put in place to try and ease that a little bit for you, or to navigate that differently, or to communicate with the people in your life about your ADHD or about your autism and how that looks for you, so that you can get the support at home that you're needing as well. So yeah, I would say holding a space and validating, working through that inner critic that's usually there, then looking at strategies that we can look at to try and support them in their everyday life.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's sometimes there's how we behave, then there's how we feel about how we behave,
Yes.
and then there's the overall sense of our values and what we believe in, and we're actually going against them. So
Yeah.
you've got layers and layers of it. And I don't know, I think there's something to be said for, if if you're working through things that present, some of the stuff actually impacts your life, some of it doesn't.
Yeah.
And some of it you can just let it go and maybe think of it in some like light, fond way, whilst tackling the things that really matter to you. We're led by our values, hopefully. We want to behave in that. So I don't know, I've just done an ACT course. I just keep going on and on about values because ACT is all about that.
Yes.
Um, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because, well, I got diagnosed at 41, but all the way up to 40, never in a million years would I
Right.
have
Okay.
a suspected ND.
Right.
Not in a million years. Spent thousands in coaching. I even spent over £2,000 on this really intense, long period coaching program. Amazing guy.
Yeah.
Spent all this money, borrowed money from my parents, all this kind of stuff. Came out of it, and guess what? I was still having the problems. I was
Yeah.
like, "You've got to be kidding me!" I was just in debt while I was trying to get better, and I just got so fed up. And it was only until my partner got diagnosed, I was like, "Hang on a second." So I really wanted to state that into the world, is that even I thought that ND was just this high end of the spectrum that I saw in school. Never would have thought about it. And
Yeah.
since entering this community, this whole community I didn't know existed, I was like, oh my God, like I didn't know this was out here.
Mhm.
And I think it's so important I love that you said suspected ND maybe. So if people get triggered by self-diagnosis, which is completely understandable as well, maybe it's trigger word and it's political, but let's say suspected ND, maybe that sounds better. Um, so yeah, luckily for me, it was like a couple of months, and then I paid, went private. But these poor people, I think it's Scotland, is it particularly, where the waiting lists are obscene. You know, you're talking 10 years, and are these people
Ooh.
supposed to be what I was like, spending all this money still on therapy, thinking it was anxiety disorder,
Yeah.
going off and doing all this, and just losing 10 years of your life while you're just trying to survive. I think if you can find a community or a book or a podcast that allows you to feel seen for the very first time, who are we to stand in the way of that? It's an interesting one, isn't it? So yeah, what your thoughts there is that like this idea of you wouldn't even expect it, and you've just missed out on all this truth you could have had.
Yes, yeah, it breaks my heart. I mean, I had it for I was at a period of time in my life before I got diagnosed where there were certain people in my life who are no longer in my life for this reason, who were very invalidating to my experiences. So I would be drowning in certain anxieties or, trying to do 15,000 things at once and being completely overwhelmed. I'd be very emotional. And those people, like the people in my life who weren't weren't recognizing that that was neurodiversity would sort of just tell me that I just need to try harder, or I need to go away, go to therapy, find techniques to fix myself and make these things better. And that was so invalidating, obviously, for me, because somewhere in me, I was like, I know I'm trying as hard as I possibly can. I know I'm doing everything I can do to try and be the person these people wanted me to be. And I just couldn't do it. The mask was slipping because you can only mask for so long before you just get to complete burnout. And I think that was the stage I got to when obviously I removed these people from my life and I called the doctors and I was like, I need an ADHD diagnosis. I truly believe this is what is happening to me and that has always been the case for me. And even I at that point sort of gaslit myself as to, am I just using this as an excuse? Is this just something that I'm running away and saying it's this so that I can not face these things? And actually, that was just the message of these horrible people. And as soon as I removed these people from my life, the moment I was able to self-diagnose, as much as I waited 2.5 years past that point to actually receive my diagnosis through the NHS, it was so powerful for me to make that call and go, because the moment I called the doctors was when I started self-diagnosing and sort of saying to myself, this is because I have ADHD. And it then let me look into, podcasts and books and even say speaking to people in my life when you also had a diagnosis of ADHD, or it allowed me to go on Instagram pages and TikTok of ADHD content that made me feel so seen and made me feel so understood. And my life changed. It felt overnight from that point, never mind when I actually received my diagnosis. But yeah, like, why suffer unnecessarily, gaslighting yourself and telling yourself that you do not have this thing when then, and I said this to you earlier before we started this today, if the worst is going to happen, I say this to a lot of my clients who are fearful of owning an identity of ADHD or a label of ADHD without an official diagnosis. Like, the worst thing that is going to happen is a psychiatrist, when you get round to it, is going to tell you you do not have ADHD. The things we're talking about in these sessions, the things that you are struggling with every day, the traits that we're associating with ADHD currently, you are still experiencing those things, whether we're calling it that or not. You are still struggling with these things. We can still be talking about it. We can still be validating it. We can still be putting strategies in place. It would just be for a different reason. So yeah, why suffer unnecessarily, still struggling and going around in circles with the same thing when you could live so much more of an authentic and fulfilled life by doing some research and owning what you feel your identity is in the neurodiverse world? Because there's a lovely community here that's waiting to welcome you with open arms. So we'd love to have you.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. And I think you're right. I think if we took away all the labels and the names and everything else, we experience life in the way we experience it.
Yeah.
Some of it is beautiful, some of it's really, really hard, as life can be. And we might find it hard to interact with the world in the way it's set up, whether we think it's set for us or not. It's your truth is actually what presents to you. What comes up for
Yes.
you is
Yeah.
truth. It's not a lie. The
Yeah.
sensations you're feeling. So you might want to go off and have therapy, which isn't linked to ND, and it could be really helpful, even maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something to be said for knowing what kind of help you need. So by having that name, you can use that name to go, right, I'll find someone that's an expert in that name.
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
ADHD, and maybe they can help me or not. It doesn't, you don't really know, 'cause sometimes it's the therapeutic relationship, trusting
Yeah.
the therapist, knowing that you want to meet a lot of your stuff without any shame. That can be really difficult. Sometimes it's easy just to ignore it and move on and do the best you can. That's cool as well. There's no wrong answers here.
Yeah.
But if you are looking for a different, not different, if you're looking for a more empowered life, there's a good word,
Yes. Yeah.
then why not explore it? And I just think even with the diagnosis, some people are still not going to believe you. So you go, right,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, I'll get my diagnosis and then they'll believe me. And you tell them that that's all rubbish in it. And I just go on with it, like you said. And, everyone's just
Yeah.
got it now. So, just, yeah, it's ridiculous, really. It's just a way of pharmaceutical companies making money and all this. Oh, God, I haven't got the energy for this.
Yeah.
So even if you do get it, I'm not going to believe you anyway. So just actually surround yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to have some people in your family that maybe not into it, but generally just try and find your tribe, because
Yeah.
it's beautiful and amazing and it's so wonderful the first time. People like you can just be just get all your fiddle toys out and all this, and they're like, "Oh, cool, can I have a go?" And it's, "Oh my God, it's like being a kid again in the best way possible." So emotional. So I think, and what a gift that is, isn't it? That connection.
Yeah. I'll never forget the first time that, because it was my family are absolutely amazing, but I remember the first time, it was never that they invalidated me, but they didn't. I brought ADHD to their attention, and I had to sort of really advocate for myself and educate them and psychoeducate them as to what ADHD is and how that relates to me, because they would see it as the sort of the naughty kid, and I did excellently at school. I was
Mm.
I was the other way of so terrified to get into trouble because of RSD that I was actually beautifully behaved and didn't present in that way. So I'll never forget the first time that my mum said to me, "Oh, like, is that because of ADHD? Or, well, because of your ADHD, this." And actually my mum now self-identifies and has recognized that potentially it's come from her. So, but that I just cried. And she sent to me, I don't think she knows this, she sent to me in a text message, and I just looked at my phone and I cried because I felt so accepted, and it finally felt like didn't need to fight anymore for people to recognize and see me for who I am. I've always been this person, but it feels like when I got my diagnosis, it maybe put a label on me that other people didn't quite understand and maybe took them a bit of time to adjust to. And finally, that was the sort of confirmation for me that it was accepted. And it was, yeah, I was seen and I was valued as Kate with ADHD, not just the Kate that I've known for 27 years.
Yeah. Oh, so powerful, so powerful. And I think that's what people may miss out on if they choose to listen to the world that doesn't want to accept it. It's complicated, and we'll talk about self-diagnosis in a minute, but it's uh, it's a fascinating one because I try and think like who are we at our core? I
Mm.
don't think we're necessarily our behaviors either. I think we are our actions, which again, based on our values. So if you're acting in a way which is against what you believe in, that is going to take a big toll on your spirit, your emotional center, how you think about yourself. So I think we are technically our actions, and ND may, especially impulsivity for me, my actions may not be correct or inappropriate in a way, but I have to meet that with compassion. Say, actually, it's not actually who I am. My brain is running wild on me, and I'm doing that. But I have the power. It's going to take some work and some help and some practice.
100%.
Maybe I can work with my brain a little bit and stop doing that because those actions aren't helping my life. So
Yes. Yeah.
why not work on that? And I think our truth isn't who we are at our core is what we believe in. What is it? Family? Is it going traveling? Is it being out in nature? Is it being creative? What's our purpose? What makes us feel alive? That's who we truly are. And hopefully our ND isn't getting in the way of that. Quite often it is though, isn't it? And that's, you want to help people get back into the
Yeah.
core of who they are, you know?
Yes, and I think when you accept and embrace ND in that space, so I am neurodiverse and that's why I struggle with this, it then opens the door to what do I now do about it. But I think when we miss this bit out, this bit is so much more difficult. There's the recognizing, yeah, I'm being impulsive, or I'm struggling to get out of bed in the morning, or these very common executive function issues that come with neurodiversity. And actually, I think that's where I find that inner critic is heaviest, of people just saying, why can't I do it? Why is it that I will start a task and not finish it? Why is it, I'm such a failure, or I'm such a bad parent, or I'm such a bad partner because I continuously let people down or promise things that I don't hold myself to. And actually, there's only self-critic there, because we're missing this out bit of, I do this because I'm neurodiverse. And because of my neurodiverse brain, that then unlocks how we support with that. Because if somebody wasn't neurodiverse and I was having that conversation with them, I'd suggest very different things to somebody who was neurodiverse. Because executive function or executive dysfunction with neurodiversity, it's because the ADHD brain is interest based, not importance based. So we need to make these things interesting in order to do them, in order to want to do them. Could be the most, your partner's birthday could be really important to you. But if it isn't interesting, you're not going to make an effort for it. Your job it's super important. You've got to pay your bills. If you're not interested in what you're doing, you're never going to put 100% effort into it. Whereas somebody who wasn't neurodiverse, I wouldn't be taking that line of sort of support. I'd be offering them different suggestions. So we have to first acknowledge how our brains work in order to find long-lasting solutions and ways to support ourselves.
Yeah, I really like that example. It's kind of like if you're parenting and maybe you get overstimulated by your child and it makes you agitated, being agitated towards your child makes you feel really bad about yourself. You feel really shameful about that. But you don't want to get stuck in that loop. What you need to do is see that you're getting overstimulated and remember that your needs are actually quite important. So yeah, we want to take care of our child. Our child is like our world. We'll do anything for them, and their needs must be met at all costs. But also, unfortunately, not fortunately, maybe it's unfortunately, with ND, there are needs that have to be put in place by you, pretty much for you. Don't, expect anybody to do anything for you. But you're really important and you're an amazing being and you have needs too. So you can turn up and be the best, whatever you want to be doing. And I think working with some of the clients I've worked with so far while I'm practicing is that's the big thing that comes up is making sure that they know you are important, by the way, and your needs based on ND presentations, like how can you meet them and why not do it? If you need to have a little break for 10 minutes and grab something that allows your body to have a different sensory input, it could be fiddle toys, it could be some soft material, it could be squeezing your feet into the floor, turn down the lights. That's a need. That's cool. No shame. You use it, you come back in space. Hey guys, let's do this. I am ready. And it means you're just gonna have this lovely life where you're like, cool, I've recharged, I've topped up, I'm good to go. And I think we sometimes forget, especially as adults and parents, that we actually have needs, by the way. And for us to be our best self, we need to know what those needs are. And I guess that's the power of coaching, therapy, and everything else, because it helps you maybe figure out your needs you probably didn't even know you had that you need to attend to. So,
Yes, yeah. Yeah, you are a human being and a person as well as mum or dad, or as partner or sibling. You are still you, and you hasn't. If you're probably a better way of phrasing it is, if you are identifying that you are not meeting somebody else's needs, you feel like you're not playing with your children enough, or you're getting overstimulated and you're frustrated with them, or if you're missing important events with family partners. If you're recognizing you're not meeting other people's needs, when are you meeting your own? So you recognize other people have needs, but what about you? And it's just trying to flip that of why are we spending so much time and effort and energy worrying about how we're meeting other people's needs with first missing the really important step, which is meeting your own. You're absolutely right. It's like that saying goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. You're trying to fill up everybody else's whilst yours is bone dry.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think this episode's quite powerful, really, because in the last 10, 20 episodes, we've been talking about this, and now we're stripping it all back and putting it all together like we're rebuilding a car. But I keep trying to explain to people that don't really want to get on board with what I'm saying. It's okay, guys, look at it this way. It's a condition of regulation, right? Pretty much everything about ND is regulation based. So regulating thoughts, regulating sensations, regulating stimulation in our system,
Mm-hmm.
regulating our emotions. Our body isn't naturally doing it. I'm sorry, guys. I keep saying this to you, and you probably shut up, Owen, keep saying it. It's true.
Yep.
Your body can't naturally and organically re-regulate itself, and you need to be involved, sadly, in a way, and it's annoying. It is like, let's honor it. It's annoying that we
Yes.
have to keep tending to our dysregulation, but that is essentially what all of this ND stuff is. And people tend to understand it better then. It's like, oh, well, I struggle with that as well. It's like, yeah, but is it 24 hours a day and you have to keep an eye on it
Mm-hmm.
constantly? No, that's the difference. And I
Yeah.
think if we see it that way, we go, okay, what are all the cool ways I can regulate? And I think when
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with clients, that's what's going to be about. Well, all the interesting, funky, different kind of ways you can get yourself back in your body for a start,
Yeah.
and getting yourself back into a place of a regulated state. When we look at
Yes.
it that way, it actually seems a lot simpler. You're just
Yeah.
looking at different parts of your experience. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I mean, even you phrasing it in that way, I felt myself calmer as you went through the sentence of, oh, yeah, actually, that does make sense. And yeah, I felt empowered and like, I can do that. I can control that. So it's a really beautiful way of phrasing it. And equally in my therapy practice, and I'm sure you are in the coaching, that's why with neurodiverse clients, I can't take a back seat and just go, mm-hmm. And how does that make you feel? Mm-hmm. And just sit there and nod because I know myself being somebody that's neurodiverse, I'd want to punch the screen. I'd be like, actually, help me. I'm coming to you for, I need advice. I need practical support as well as that emotional holding and that space creating sort of environment. And I find a lot with my, that's why I went on to do additional qualifications for neurodiverse individuals and also, yes, use my own personal experience because I find that with my ND clients, they do want that. How do I regulate this better? So I'm struggling with this. One, the first step is usually let's psychoeducate as to why that is when we bring in neurodiversity. Then let's look at if we understand now based on this psychoeducation how your brain works, like you just described there, it's a regulation issue. That then unlocks that door that I was talking about before of how we can handle that. So, okay, so what techniques could we try? And I will work with the individual on this. I won't just go, I want you to go away and do this, this, and this. Here's your homework. But it's more of a how do we think with this issue you're facing, based on the information we have as to why that is, would be a good thing for you to try between now and next time we speak and try out in your actual life in a safe, but with somebody, and we'll establish a safe place or a safe person they can try this out with to see if that could be helpful for you. If it is, then that's great. Then we can keep developing that. If it isn't, we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll try something else. But actually offering practical solutions, not just exploring how it feels, because you just said it's really frustrating. And we have to own that. And owning that frustration is so important, but will only take you so far in actually feeling better.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's kind of like for me personally, just talking about the frustration thing is that I know what I need to do, and it's like, am I moving towards a state of regulation or moving away from a state of
Mm,
regulation? So I might be thinking I'm going to regulate myself by eating some chocolate or something in the kitchen, or I might be regulating by having a screen of YouTube on while I walk around and do the washing up. Yeah, it does actually distract me for a bit. It actually feels quite nice, just take my mind away and read. Sorry, listen to watch something. But actually, afterwards, I come out of it. I'm still my system's still what I call, you can't see it 'cause there's no video. So like
yeah,
my whole body's
yeah,
like
yeah,
my I'm like got my hands in dinosaur pose and just like
yeah,
really oh
yeah.
and constant stimulation feels like the right thing to do. It's actually moving me further away from regulation. So annoyingly, for me, when we're talking about, as we finish up today about tools, is that after I do something, I do either have to walk around the garden outside, or I might lie down or lean against some bean bags for 10 minutes. It's so annoying. I just want to get on with what I'm doing. All right, I got a little 10-minute lie down now. And it's taken me weeks, months to get into it and go, actually, this is awesome. It kind of like, it's like a washing machine for my brain. My cortex really hurts when I focus for too long. And when I have like a little 10-minute nap, I'm a nap legend. It feels like my cortex has had something lifted off it. It's
Wow.
incredible how effective it
Yeah.
is. And that's just my life. I'm afraid I have to have little lie downs or little sits on squidgy things, get a squishy mellow out that my stepson's got. Who am I kidding? I got two of my own, but you just give them a squeeze, and
Yeah.
it's like a sensory thing. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's kind of like you kind of have to at some point. You're going to have to make peace with the fact that you have to put these
Yeah.
cool, fun exercises in. Should we
Yeah.
make them feel nice?
Yes, yeah. It's when I say when you own it and you own what the sort of trait is that you're experiencing, what the problem is that you're having in your life and where that's coming from, yeah, you can then really start to hopefully, with some help, be open to the little tips and tricks you can do to actually make your life so much more manageable and so much more, I would say, for a lot of neurodiverse people, bearable. I know when I was going through a time where I didn't know I had ADHD and hadn't really done my training, or sort of like very early into my training and hadn't learned these techniques, overstimulation was unbearable, because it was noise, it was all of my senses, it was touch, it was noise, it was so even like taste things, they say, can be too much or not enough. And it was just, if all of those were firing at once, full meltdown. So now, like, that's not happened to me for a very long time because I will proactively do things like I've got my loop earphones, or I've got, I will actively leave the room in certain situations that I know are going to be overstimulating, or won't put myself in certain situations I know are going to be too much. So when you know your sensory profile. I think I said this to you in the last conversation that we had. Knowing your sensory profile and knowing what your triggers are helps you to know how you can regulate better. And when you own that and you're not about embarrassed to say, I need I need to lay down in the day. Or for me, it's like I need to put headphones in sometimes because otherwise I want to scream myself. Actually, I feel like that makes me a more present and better friend, or, daughter or partner, to be able to engage better because I'm lowering the volume. I'm not expecting other people to change what they're doing. I'm adjusting to the situation rather than expecting the neurotypical world around me to adjust to me.
Yeah, exactly. And like, in a way, are you doing something important? By taking that action, is it an important action? Is it going to mean you're going to have a better time with your child, or are you going to be able to do the thing that you love, but you have to do a lot of prep beforehand? If you're going to go to a gig or something, it's probably going to wipe you out afterwards, but the day before and maybe the morning before that, make sure you put all those sensory tools from your sensory toolkit in because it's important to you.
Yeah.
These things you want to do that are really important, you'd really like to achieve it, you will have to work with yourself a little bit and be your own advocate, really. And that's kind of like one of our finale questions is like advocating for ourselves, I guess. Start in private, advocate for yourself, meet your needs, do what you want. And then who knows, that could ripple out and you might, in the workplace, ask for some support, or with friends, let them know, can we hang out? But is it cool if it's just half an hour? Is that all right?
Yes.
That's best for me. And then suddenly you're creating this amazing life for yourself based on your own advocacy, and people are going to respect you for that and go, God, they really know what they need. That's really inspiring. And then suddenly
I
you
couldn't
become an
agree more.
inspiring person.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's absolutely spot on, and exactly how to advocate for yourself. I'd say start by educating yourself. Then you can start to educate those around you. You'll probably learn at that point who is open to being educated and who isn't, and who is you can really value in your life and who's going to value you on this journey of self-discovery that you're on, and who may not be welcome with you on that journey, and that's okay. And then really, yeah, you will get respect of, you'll feel a hell of a lot better, and you will get probably respect from the people who love you and value you in your life, of they're really looking after themselves and they're really meeting their needs and owning what they need, which is so powerful and I think so commendable.
Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly is. And I think to be authentic, you need to kind of know who you are, what your
Yeah,
values are.
yeah,
Um, and that starts with advocating for your ND, I guess, is a good place to start. Or if you want to, advocating for your presentations of don't use ND if you don't want to.
yeah, yeah,
Just say, I struggle with rejection or whatever it may be quite a lot. It's quite an emotional, intense experience. What do I need to do to help me with that? So
yeah.
just treat it as one little thing, part of the spectrum of who you are, ND or otherwise,
True.
which is amazing. Awesome stuff. We didn't really stick to the questions, everyone. Kind of just we sort of skipped from 6 to 4, back to 5. But this felt really lovely. It felt really uplifting and full of hope. And yeah, meeting these, advocating for ourselves, owning our truth, surround ourselves with the right kind of people. All of these things are really, really, really important. And while you're waiting around on waiting lists for years, if you want to explore, do it. Explore what it's all about. And you think you've got it, why not reach out for help or find someone that knows what it feels like? And then I can only help you. Can't be a bad thing,
Yeah.
which is amazing. So we can't really do key things that help. Yeah, we can't really do that now. I think we've talked about our own stuff quite a bit there. I think we shared some tools
Yeah,
there.
I agree.
So you've already done a parting message. So I can't wait to compare this parting message to the last one to see if you have copied or if you've got something fresh to share. So what would be your message of hope? There's been loads of that on the show, but a message of hope to the audience about what it is to be neurodivergent and to live our truth and be authentic.
I think it's so important to live authentically. I think we underestimate how important that is quite a lot. And if you're struggling to do this, as we've talked about a lot today, I strongly suggest that you educate yourself on what might be going on for you. You support yourself with potentially getting a diagnosis or with therapy, with supportive friends and family. But I saw a quote that I actually wrote down, and I have it on a little post-it note on my computer to remind me every single day, and I'll read it. So I make sure I get it right. It's trying to be what others want you to be is like a tulip trying to be a rose just because it happened to be planted in a rose garden. And for me, it's like a tulip doesn't pretend to be a rose. A tulip is a very beautiful flower in and of itself. Just because you are neurodivergent, living in a neurotypical world, doesn't mean you have to pretend to be neurotypical. You are perfectly perfect as you are as a tulip.
Love that. That's an amazing, that's definitely like the first one. And I love it so much. I like that. Yeah. You're in a rose garden with your tube. Yeah. That's really, really good. And as a gardener, that resonates.
There you go. You can plant a rogue lone tulip in a rose garden and know that it will thrive. It
Yeah.
just needs the help. May need your help in terms of tips and tricks and techniques and support to help it to thrive.
Yeah. And the tulip that you are to thrive is to meet the needs. That's
Yeah,
going to be watering, plenty of sun, you
yeah.
know, go, this night is going out the window, go into the garden center and knowing what the tulip sensory profile is, what
Yeah.
kind of heat does it need and stuff like that. Yeah, and joking aside, it's so, so true though. And like I said, the community's out there, but there's plenty of not neurotypicals that love me deeply and are there for me no matter what, and they'll honor whatever my truth is that presents. So it's not a them and us thing. Let's just be
Yes,
very clear.
exactly.
It's just there's always going to be in politics, everything. There's always going to be all these different opinions, and I think if we're driven by opinion, we're getting caught up in away from human connection, and we're moving more towards a cognitive way of seeing life, which is a bit sad, really. I think we should come back to who we are, innate beings, who just want to feel seen, heard, loved, to be held, and to live a life where we can flourish, really. So it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely.
Handy or otherwise. Amazing. Thank you, Kate. So, where can we find you online?
You can find me on TikTok and on Instagram at Dots Wellbeing, where yeah, you'll see all of my mental health content, my doggy content of my German Shepherd, and yeah, soon to be pregnancy content as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, lots of changes, but lots of different topics being covered. But yeah, you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram and get all things mental health.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much. I really appreciate you coming back on as I do with all my guests. It feels really special to have people that trust in me and want to come on and share more. So thank you for being on again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I do really appreciate all of this. I'm practically killing myself trying to get this coaching course done in the best possible way, obviously. And I'm doing loads of other courses as well, things that I hadn't finished in the past. So when I launch the ND and free wellbeing practice, I really hope that I may be able to help anybody that's listening that may want the help. So can't wait to actually
Can't wait.
directly support this community. I'm so excited to sit with people on a Zoom call one-to-one, hold a space for them and let them do what we talked about today. So what a journey since October last year. This
I
has
know.
been really, but just to be clear, guys, I've been in the industry for 10 years and I've been a coach for years. I just haven't used it that much. So just to be clear, it's not like I just suddenly got my driving lessons done and I'm driving F1 or something. It's fine. More analogies, guys, which is great. Anyway, thanks, guys. Thanks for everybody listening. We'll see you next time for some more ND chat. ND and Free is in partnership with Anque Mushroom Gummies. Since my ADHD diagnosis in October 2024, I had been trying to find a supplement to help my struggle to focus, ease my brain fog, and help my overall energy. I'd been getting mixed results from multiple supplements until I came across Anque's Mushroom Gummies. So I removed all other supplements and began to take 2 of the delicious tasting gummies each morning after eating. By the 4th week, I really started to notice I could focus for longer and my brain fog wasn't anywhere near as bad. It feels like I have a clearer mind. Naturally, they may not work for everybody, but I feel it's my mission to at least let you all know about these gummies. They include 10 functional mushrooms within them, including lion's mane, shiitake, and turkey tail mushrooms. With their non-GMO, gluten-free and filler-free gummies, they offer a tasty solution to an ND brain. You can order one-off pouches with 60 gummies inside or sign up to the discounted monthly bundles. Best of all, if you use my code OWEN15, you'll get 15% off your order. Visit www.anquay.com and use code OWEN15 at checkout. That is www.ankhway.com.